Alright, so we're going to be going over how to install Splunk. The first thing you're going to need to do is create pretty much any Linux server. So I'm just doing it in ESXi because that's what we have, but you can install it on just about anything, going through some basic VM settings. And here we don't need too much we don't need a crazy amount of resources. I am going to beef this up just a little bit because we have the room. And that's just selecting data store ISO file. I'm going to go with just a new Ubuntu because that's what we have. And it works. Just to verify a little bit. Yep, that should be good. Now it should come up real quick. Demo Splunk. Power it on real quick. And we can get through this install process. Install Ubuntu. And it's just going to load for a while. And while that sort of starts happening, we can go here to Splunk. I've already downloaded the instance, but what you do is you just go to Splunk, you log in. I'm already logged in. You are going to need to create an account for this, which you can use any business account. This is a club at Purdue, so we all should have Purdue emails. That will work. Then you just click this free Splunk button up here. Go to the downloads page. Splunk Enterprise is what we're doing here. Get my free trial. And then I'm installing it on Linux. I went with the tar gzip file just because that's what I personally think is the easiest to work with. And then back to this install real quick. Ubuntu server, that should be fine. 110 is fine. No proxy. We can wait for that mirror to finish testing. I'm fairly certain it's going to work. But you just click download now, and then it takes you to that screen I was on before. And once it's on this, my host, I'm just going to SCP it over to this server so that it can be there. And after that, it's pretty simple. All we do is unzip the tar, move it to opt, which is just a place where you can put it. That's where I'm going to choose to put it. And then there's a start script. You accept the license, and everything should be more or less working fine. You can go to the management interface pretty quick. Alright, let's change that the other way around just so it matches. Not the greatest password in the world, but it will work for now. And here, instead of hitting enter, I hit space to select install OpenSSH server. I don't want to install identities or usernames or anything. Through here, I don't think there's anything I need. And now it's just going to go through the install process. Alright, I'll be back when that finishes. Alrighty, so I am back. This is the Ubuntu machine I just created earlier in the ESXi, SSH'd into it in this terminal over here, and let's see, what I did first was I transferred this Splunk archive just with SCP, and how you do that is local file first, remote system, colon, remote file path, and you can see I'm there, and this is where the file came from. And then I just ran this tar command, this it's right up here, with the XZF, X for extract, Z for the gzip format, and then the name of the file. And you could tell it's gzip, or whoops, if you wanted to with the file command, or you could just look at the extension and know it was gzip, or I downloaded the gzip version from Splunk, so I knew all of that. Real quick, just moving Splunk to opt. I'm just going to make myself root real quick. And let's close this terminal because we don't need it anymore. And now we can, I think it's been, is that how you spell license? This will start up the Splunk service, and this flag will accept the license, assuming I spelled it correctly. Alright, I must have not spelled it correctly. In the README, there is installation instructions. I should have read that earlier. This is the tar file. As you can see, only 2 commands, which is, you know, pretty good. Not too hard at all. And then here, it looks like I need the Splunk start accept license, which, you know, there we go. Now just an administrator username, I'm going to call it root, and then an 8-character password. There we go. And now it's running through the install script. It will go through everything, and once this web server says it's available, all I'll do is go to it. Now I will have to change out 127 for the actual address, which is 172.16.50.110 if I remember correctly. And that's just because this is the server version of Ubuntu and it does not have a desktop environment. So I'm going to need to access this from the web browser. And by the way, I don't remember which screen. Yeah, to connect to this, you will have to use the BTAP VPN that we have created. But so now, don't go to this. I don't have, like, we haven't created DNS records for that. So let's just go to and it looks like it's working. The credentials you used to while you were spinning up the instance, if you're more on the astute end, you might have noticed that wasn't the same login credentials I specified earlier. That is because I did mess up and forget my I forgot what I set the password to, so I had to change it. So I made a new account. The first thing I want to do here real quick is talk about users, because right now when you go to settings and users, we have this one sysadmin user, and I specified that earlier. And if we look into here, it's admin, which pretty much means it has all permissions. I'm going to create a new user. This time, let's just call it guest. There we go. And basically what this is, name, this is going to be username, full name and email address. Those are for just basically if you want Splunk to send email alerts, that is possible, or and other times it will reference you by your name. Setting a password, I set this to something real simple. Because this is a guest account, this is what we're going to give out during the meeting, so people can like actually access it. What we're going to do is leave it as a default user because we don't want to give our guest account too many permissions. And because multiple people are going to be using this, we're not going to require a password change on first login. And we're just going to create that user real quick. So now we have a basic user. You might have noticed all of those roles, and if you don't quite know what they are, what you can do is go back to this user's authentication section of the settings and just look through here. So for example, user, like what we gave it. You can see here, you can inherit all of the capabilities from another role, or you can select the capabilities manually. I'm not going to go through and do all that because as you can see there's a lot of stuff here, but if you're really interested you can go through and look at it all. If you look, you can select what indexes this user can access, any restrictions and any resources. So that's the basics of roles, and you can go through and look at all of these here. Additionally, if you want to create a new role, you can. And so that's us basically setting up our guest user. And yeah, now we're gonna configure the universal forwarder. Now, again, very similar to Splunk Enterprise. What you do is you go to Free Splunk, and then you sort of navigate down to the universal forwarder to get this. Again, you still have to be logged into your account, but yeah, you just like download the tar file. Now I already have that file on this Rocky SSH server. I picked this because it's going to have some logs for us to send, basically. So what we're going to do first is extract this, put it in the opt directory, and then what you're going to do next, I've already done this, so I'm going to get some error messages, but add the Splunk create a user for this, and that will automatically create a group. Nope. And then if you recursively change the ownership of that directory to the Splunk FWD user, that will make and you need to recursively change the ownership to that Splunk user. So first we go into bin, then we start and accept the license again. And this is creating a new user. So all preliminary checks passed, and then we need to, I believe it's enable. Alright, well, I'll get back to that. But first, add forward server 172. Well, first thing we're going to do is add this forwarding server. And what we have to do is go to our Splunk instance, go back to settings, and then over here, forwarding and receiving. Oop, it went away. Forwarding and receiving. Here we can go down and configure receiving, and then add a new receiving port. What this recommends is 9997, and that is fine. And so now we've successfully created that listening port. So we do the IP : listening port. It's added the server. There are errors, however. Let's just make sure that port's open to us. I haven't done anything wrong, and I'm not seeing it. But it is listening. Oh wait. Alright, so it is open. Alright, so some of those issues were networking on the ESXi end. So hopefully you won't have the same ones. One thing I would recommend is if you are having trouble forwarding to the server, or you're having some of the same error messages that I was seeing, what you can do is temporarily disable your firewall to see if it is a networking issue, and then you can edit your firewall settings to accommodate for that. But now, this is the forwarder, just verifying that the Splunk daemon is already running. And what this command will do is just start Splunk on boot. One thing I will have to do first is stop the service. And this may take some time. One thing I will say is, as I've been Googling around, this is an error that Splunk knows about. It doesn't seem like there's a way to get rid of it short of just grepping it out every single time you run a Splunk command. So we're going to be seeing that a lot. Alright, so apparently you don't need to be using the Splunk forwarder command in here. You could use systemctl with the Splunk forwarder. And then just to double check that it started correctly, I'm just going to start it again. But first, let's add a forward server, again the same IP, and then the 9997, which is what we've been using, what we configured as the listening port. One thing it will ask you to do is log in down here. Alright, so I typed the password in wrong. Now, forwarding has been added. So, add monitor is the next command. And let's look at a little bit of it's not telling me about my monitoring options, but so let's just add var log, and then okay, so apparently my previous configs worked. Let's look at Splunk and see. There we go. We have some of these working, and as you can see, our logs are here, and a lot of source types. Beautiful. So that is how you ingest logs into Splunk. Sorry about the fumbling there a little bit. I had some networking issues that I had to get through. Alright, so to go back into the data summary and look at source types, I'm going to be looking at just, for example, maybe it's in sources. I want to look at this varlog secure, and that's just because that's where our SSH information is going to be, and that's why we picked this this option. So if we look at varlog secure, we see the logs populating in Splunk, and let's just go down and see let's also add this query host 172.1650.105. Now, if you remember correctly, that is the IP address of this SSH server. So that's just going to be showing the logs from this SSH server and sort of isolating it. And if we look, now we have a little bit more streamlined, and we can see this line right here, accepted password for sysadmin from 172.21.55.22. What we can do is drop down here to look at all this info. One thing you'll notice, often we would want to search for where this is coming from, but we don't have a remote IP address field. What we can do is go over here to extract new fields, and then pick a log that will work. Let's go with that same accepted password. Select method regex. Select fields. Let's select this IP address. Field name. Remote IP address. And that didn't quite work. It doesn't look. It didn't work at all. So let's see if we can maybe try that again. Remove this field. Maybe include the spaces around it. And that looks a little better. And down here, yeah, we're seeing it. Accepted password, accepted password. The only sort of issue I'm seeing is it's only accepting the same IP, but let's just move along with that and see if there's anything that should have been accepted but wasn't. Because I don't think it's going back far enough to see the older logs here, but we'll see what happens next. Alright, now we can explore the fields I just created in search. And this will be a new field. If we drop down to this one, we'll have it. We can see the remote IP. Maybe, no, that won't work. Maybe let's just create a table of the remote IPs. Alright, and here it's only showing this one, but if I generate traffic from somewhere else, for example, the Splunk server, it should pop up in this table. So let's go back to this server. Alright, so a login that worked. And now if we rerun this again, we can see another IP. And then we just created a table of remote IPs. When we meet, we will go over this, what table and dedup will do. And also by then I'll have more logs imported to the Splunk instance so that we can have a more interesting thing to look at. But that's the basics of how to install Splunk, how to ingest some logs, how to look through those logs, and then how to extract new fields so that you can get a little more specific on the information you want